morning, everyone. I think it's a little bit about afternoon now. I will touch a little bit about the GIS trend, what it is now, today, and what is going to come out in the future. What is going to come out in the future is something for you all to actually prepare yourself to get ready when the technology is ready, your data is actually ready for it. So these are some of the common trends that has been going on. It's not about this year, it has been going on for quite some time. We talk about interactive data-driven maps, dashboard and storytelling. You saw a lot of our customers has dashboard telling a story about their project. We have imagery and remote sensing, pervasive web and mobile app, looking at them creating apps, mobile, going on the field to do data collection. And then last but not least is actually the 3D part, as well as the GeoAI and advanced analytics. For today, I would like to cover a little bit more about GeoAI. I think this one interests a lot of people about AI and machine learning. I will touch a little bit more also about what is our work in terms of imagery and 3D. So let's talk a little bit about where is Esri now. We have been working a lot integrating AI into ArcGIS. We call it GeoAI. We look into taking imagery, doing extraction out of imagery, putting in vector data, text data, and so on. So what you can see over here, Esri has worked out a lot of this called a GeoAI pre-trained model. This year itself, we have actually released 16 pre-trained model. Let me touch a little bit what is pre-trained model. In total, you have 60 pre-trained GeoAI model in Living Atlas. You can actually download it, use it, maybe retrain it a little bit, make modification to fit into your needs. So these are some of the use cases. It's like doing feature, building footprint extraction, and so on. I want to show you a sample on how this GeoAI pre-trained model that Esri has in Living Atlas, that you can actually use it. So what you see over here is a survey 123 form. They take the GeoAI pre-trained model, they start to actually train it, and then it starts to do detection. This is a sample doing car detection. Very simple one. So what you did is the 60 pre-trained model, you choose what is relevant, you start to actually look into it, into your local perspective, and then you integrate into our application. This is what is available now that you can actually start using now. Okay. There's a lot of echo going on, yeah. So that is what now. So what about what's next? What is Esri is doing in? What I have actually demonstrated to you is GeoAI. We take pre-trained model, we train it, or even we can actually train and create our own AI model. The thing that we want to talk a little bit about is called AI assistant. So this is not readily in the product yet, in the technology, but it's going to come into our technology. We are doing it in the research R&D effort. So when we talk about AI assistant, I believe that probably some of you heard about ChatGPT. I'm using AI to actually assist me to do a certain task. When it released in, I think, 2022, a lot of people was new and people start to actually use it. Even when I want to plan for my trip, overseas, I will use ChatGPT and say, oh, please plan for me 3 days, 2 nights to somewhere, and it will give me some kind of information. It's like, when you are using ArcGIS, it's like, how do you enable those that are not familiar with your portal, are not familiar with the data that you have, but still would like to actually get insights from the database that you have actually prepared? This is why the AI assistant comes into place. We are working a lot into it, but in order for AI assistant to work, your data has to be ready. Your metadata has to be there as well. I want to show you a little bit what we are working on. This is where our typical one, we have data, and then we publish it into services. We start to create web maps, and then we start to create application. And user actually access our data through our application. We are trying to create our application as user-friendly as possible so that user does not need to do many clicks. They are able to actually derive all the data from our application. What's next, upcoming, is whereby we start to actually create AI assistant to work alongside with the application as well as the services that you have actually published. This is where we have agent doing training, prompt engineering, LLM, And last but not least, tools to actually integrate directly into our platform. So I want to show you 2 examples on how we have integrated into 2 of our products, and in the future it will be more into our product. But this is just still in the R&D stage, whereby we are still researching on it, we are still developing it, and it will be coming out probably in a later stage. But I wanted to prep you guys what is going to come out in the ArcGIS technology. We don't just stop at geospatial, the apps and so on. Now we want to make it as user-friendly as possible for our user, even faster for our user to actually search our information. So what you see over here is actually a hub site by Washington, D.C. This is a typical one. You publish your data, you publish your services, you publish your web map. This is like a repository. We go through, normal user will actually type, I want to search what data and so on in your repository. And then this is where researcher, your department will actually start to search. What if we have actually an AI assistant start to actually ask, okay, where are all the trash pickup today? It goes into your database, it goes into your hub, it starts to actually collate and tell the user, okay, these are all the pickup areas and so on. I want to know a little bit more detail. What about the location that I'm in now? So it will start to actually do geocoding. It will tell you from Monday to Thursday is your trash pickup area. Another level is like, even without knowing what kind of data structure that I have in my hub, I want to say, okay, how many trees there are in the city? Then it will start to go into your repository, your metadata, it search, it summarizes for you and tell you, this is the number of trees that you have in your city. I want to take another step further. It's not about just asking questions. I want to make a map now. I want to further analyze the map and analyze the attributes that you have in your data set. So just imagine how simple it is now. Later on, when this one is going to embed into our ArcGIS technology, it's like you don't have to train people, okay, how to use Portal, how to use Hub, and how to use certain application. You prepare an AI assistant for them. You prepare an AI assistant for them, whereby they just go in there, probably with not much GIS knowledge, or maybe not much ArcGIS knowledge, they go in there and start to search for your information and start to actually use your information. The next one is actually something very interesting for me that I was quite intrigued. It's like, oh, now we can actually start to ask AI assistant to create an application for me. I mean, typically when you create an application like Survey 123, first thing you need to do is, okay, I want to know what kind of question you want to ask in your Survey 123. I start to actually understand, and then I start to actually create my survey form. And then I test on it, and then I start to create it back again. So what we have over here is, if let's say an AI assistant is being embedded into the Survey 123, I start to ask, this is a sample, help me to actually create a form that actually helps in terms of reporting a damage assessment. What this does is it gets the recommendation, what kind of common attributes that the damage assessment will need to have. It says, do you agree to this kind of question that you would like to ask? They say, oh yes, I would like to add a map into it. Then it will say, okay, these are all the recommendations. This is what normally people collect doing a damage assessment. Please create a Survey 123 form for me. It creates the form for you. And then this is where you take further from there, you start to modify it. I want to add an additional attributes. I want to add additional attributes to it. So just imagine how interactive it is. Previously, we say that taking 1-2 months is very long. We come up with configurable apps for you. Now we take 1-2 days, or even like BJSP say, oh, we take 3 days to actually create the apps. Just imagine this is taking a few seconds to actually create the apps, and then you work on improving the apps. So this is something this is just a 2 example on how the R&D is actually researching to embed into 2 of our products. But in order for this to work, like what I mentioned, your data has to be ready for it. You have to really create metadata for your data. Because now, it's not about searching on the web, it's searching authoritative data that you have, that you will actually update from time to time. This is a living data that you update, and the AI assistants actually help to search on that living data that you actually have. So the next thing that we are also researching is to create an AI assistant across ArcGIS platform. Let's say, for example, you have a lot of database, you have ArcGIS server, you have a lot of things. Now we start to actually ask this kind of question. Oh, what kind of data set do you have for storm? Very familiar, right? It's like macam using ChatGPT macam tu. Tapi now you're actually, the data source is actually through your authoritative data services and so on. Understanding, it will go through. You can also go through Living Atlas to actually find it. It goes through your database, and then if let's say, for example, I say, oh, I want to know a little bit more detail about this USS storm reports. Give me where are the events that actually occur in US. Then it will go through your database, your data, your column, your rows that you have actually selected. It starts to actually understand where are also the missing gaps in your data, as well as to actually publish the data that is in here. So just imagine this is like, instead of asking them to look at ArcGIS Pro or something, you're asking them to actually do simple things that maybe they are going to be familiar with now, because since they are using AI as assistant. Not only that, you can also ask them to actually aggregate by state level. This is where they will do a hotspot on it, and then they will also take data from your state boundary and then aggregate it across the time. So this is some of the development that we are working, Esri is working on in our platform and technology platform. This is something that probably if let's say you would like to actually leverage on top of this kind of advancement that we have, the first thing that you all need to do is look back at the data structure that you have, prepare it properly, metadata, because a lot of time when we actually create data, we forgot about the metadata. We forgot to actually tag it properly, and then in order to do that, this is where we can actually use this kind of AI assistance in a little bit more detail. We, in Esri, we want to be as close as possible to the trend. Now people would like it to be much more simpler, using AI assistant like ChatGPT and so on. Now we want to embed and we want to create this AI assistant part of our technology. So that is about what is our product team doing, our R&D team doing. We are researching on top of it. We are testing out. We are looking at what's the best way to actually enable our customer and what's the best way to actually do this. So the next area that I would like to touch on is about 3D capabilities. Esri has spent the past 4 to 5 years to actually not only to aim to actually make ArcGIS is like a 3D kind of platform. Okay, we put a lot of investment, R&D into this particular area. So not only you can actually visualize it, start to actually analyze it, and actually to view it in an immersive experience. The thing that I wanted to actually point out a little bit more, if let's say you're not aware, we do have something called the 3D base map. We acquire different kind of data source to actually form our 3D base map. And 3D base map is actually part of the ArcGIS platform. If you have not actually explored it, probably the next step is actually to go back to your ArcGIS platform, start to actually search for this 3D base map. And to render 3D, sometimes it requires a lot of performance. Because it's very huge data. How do I render? I'm not only rendering a building, I'm rendering for the entire city, or maybe I'm rendering for the entire Malaysia. This is where a huge development that we are touching on is actually the 3D tiles. To make the 3D rendering visualization as smooth as possible in your platform or in your application. Of course, the next thing that we would like to actually touch on a little bit is like we are doing something called the flood simulation that will be coming up soon, transportation analysis, and to enable editing on the web much more simple for user. Because now web is the way to go. Opening a tablet, opening a browser, you can actually start to edit your data. So it's not only about just editing, it's more about advanced web editing that we're going to enable it on our web. Touching a little bit about imagery. You do data capturing in terms of imagery and remote sensing in various stages. You could actually have an airborne LiDAR data capturing it, Or you could actually fly drones, capturing in the smaller areas, or satellite, capturing satellite imagery. In certain organizations, you have this called the mobile mapping, going around, driving around and capture it. The question is, how do you combine and how do you process all this data when they are actually at the same location? You have different source, it's being captured by different source, and so on. So one of the things that we are actually pushing out is called ArcGIS Reality, whereby you are able to actually bring different kind of data source and then start to actually process it, producing 3D meshes through orthophoto, automosaic, and so on. So this is actually a technology that we have actually released. I believe a lot of organizations has been capturing images, drones, acquiring satellite imagery and so on. And some of this imagery and so on could be sitting in one of your storage over there. You're thinking, oh, how do I process it now? So this is where you look into ArcGIS Reality to actually do your reality mapping. Not only it generates the foundation content that just now I mentioned, now that all this data are in 3D meshes, this is where you can actually start to actually analyze and prepare accurate decision making. And last but not least, to actually build a nice 3D city or a living digital twin for your particular city or particular area that you are looking at. That will be the 3 updates that I would like to actually update you all. We have a lot, to be honest. So I picked the 3 that one is upcoming, preparing you all for what is going to come into our platform. The second thing is on the 3D part, as well as reality mapping. That is very close into what we are doing here in Malaysia. So this is what's next for ArcGIS. We are now in 2024. We are focusing a lot on AI, smart mapping, web editing, 3D, a lot of effort being put into imagery. And if you see, the bigger the letter is, the bigger the focus is. Like you see, we are focusing on LM. Like what I mentioned, the AI assistance and so on. So this is where we are focusing on. And if you have any areas that you are interested in for this particular area, just look out for us, look out for all our colleagues around, ask us a little bit more question or share with us what you are doing in your work and how can ArcGIS help you to make your work more effective and more productive. So with that, that's the end of my presentation, a very short update for you all, what is coming up in ArcGIS, what is in ArcGIS already, and if you have any other question, just feel free to actually scan the QR code at the back of your tag, ask us more questions, or just pop up and grab any one of us to ask us the question. With that, I would like to pass it back to Ramlan.